You hit snooze again. Somewhere right now, a version of you is already standing, boots laced, cold water on his face. He did not ask his blanket for permission. He does not know your name. He does not need to. He is who you were supposed to become, and he is not waiting for the man still lying down. 10 laws stand between you and him. Get up, this is where they start. This is the Spartan protocol. 10 laws forged in Stoic fire and Spartan blood, built to turn a soft man into one who cannot be broken. No comfort, no apology, just the code. Protocol 1. Own the first hour and you own the day. The first choice you make each morning is not really about waking up. It is about who gives the orders inside your own skull. Your body wants warmth. Your mind wants 5 more minutes. Neither one is in charge. You are. Marcus Aurelius wrote to himself before sunrise, arguing his own limbs out from under the blankets, telling himself plainly that a man was made to move, not to burrow under wool and hide from the cold. He was an emperor. He still had to fight this battle every single morning, alone, before anyone else was awake to see him win it or lose it. The Spartans built this into boys before they were old enough to shave. Cold barracks in winter, no fire until it was earned, not cruelty for its own sake. A lesson, repeated daily, that the body will always negotiate for comfort, and the will has to answer every time with the same word: no. A boy who wins that argument at 6 years old wins it easier at 16. A man who has never won it at all is still, in every way that matters, a boy. So here is how you live it. The alarm goes across the room, not beside the bed, so the first act of your day is already a small war you have to stand up to fight. Feet hit the floor before your mind gets a vote. No phone for the first 20 minutes, nothing in that glowing rectangle deserves to be the first voice you hear before your own. Cold water on the face, or colder in the shower on purpose, because the flinch is the point. You are training the part of you that does not want to be trained. Picture the recruit in that Spartan barracks, 17 years old, breath fogging in the dark, blanket-thin floor freezing under his bare feet. He does not think about glory. He thinks about getting up because getting up is what is required, and he has already decided, long before this morning, that he is a man who does what is required. That decision was made once. It pays interest every single day after. You will not feel like a warrior the first time you do this. You will feel cold and irritated and slightly ridiculous. Do it anyway. The feeling is not the point. The obedience of your body to your will is the point, and it is the only foundation the next 9 laws can stand on. Win the first minute of the day, and the rest of the day already knows who is in charge. Protocol 2. Command the voice inside your own head, or it will command you. There is a voice that runs commentary on everything that happens to you all day, uninvited. It tells you the traffic ruined your morning. It tells you the email was disrespectful. It tells you that you are behind, that you are not enough, that today is already wasted. You did not choose this voice. Most men never question it. They simply believe whatever it says, the way a private believes a general, without ever asking if the general has earned the rank. Epictetus was born a slave and still built an entire philosophy on one blunt fact. It is not the event itself that disturbs you, it is your judgment about the event. The traffic is neutral. The email is neutral. Your mind assigns the meaning and then reacts to the meaning it just invented, like a man frightened by a shadow he cast himself. Strip away the story you are telling yourself, and most of what wrecks your day was never actually happening to you at all. It was happening in you. Here is how you take the rank back. Catch the voice the instant it speaks, not an hour later. The instant, ask it one question: is this a fact or is this a story? The car in front of you is a fact. "This idiot is ruining my morning" is a story you wrote in half a second and then believed completely. Strip the story off. Look at the bare fact underneath. Most of the time, the bare fact is survivable. It is the story that was unbearable. Think of a Spartan on the line at Thermopylae, watching an army that outnumbers his by more than 100 to 1. The fact is, many enemies stand across the field. The story his mind could tell is, "This is hopeless, I am already dead, nothing I do matters." He does not let that story run. He commands his mind back to the only fact that requires his action, the spear in his hand, the shield of the man beside him, the ground he will not give. He controls the sentence in his own head, and that sentence is the difference between a soldier and a corpse who is still breathing. You will not silence the voice completely. No man does, but you can stop obeying it on reflex. Every time it speaks a story dressed up as a fact, you interrogate it and you answer with the truth instead. Do this enough times and the voice starts asking your permission before it speaks. The mind that commands itself cannot be commanded by anything else. Protocol 3. Pay the hard price first every single time. Every day hands you a short list of things you do not want to do and a long list of things that are easy to do instead. The workout versus the couch. The hard conversation versus the silence. The real work versus the scrolling. Most men do the easy list first and tell themselves they will get to the hard list later once they feel ready. Later never arrives. Ready never arrives. The easy list expands to fill the whole day, every day, until a man looks up and realizes an entire year went by, and the hard list is exactly where he left it. Seneca warned against this trap in blunt terms. We do not lack time, we waste it, and most of it is wasted on comfortable postponement, dressed up as reasonable delay. The order you do things in is not a small detail. It is the whole game. Do the hard thing while you still have the will to choose it, because the will is strongest in the first hour and weakest by the last. Wait until evening to find your discipline, and you will be negotiating with an exhausted man who has spent his willpower on everything else. Here is how you live it. Before you check a single message, before you eat, before you allow yourself one piece of comfort, you do the one task on your list you least want to do. The workout, the call you have been avoiding, the report you keep pushing to tomorrow. You do it first while your excuses are still weak from sleep and have not had time to organize themselves into a case against you. Picture a Spartan youth handed his food ration for the day, deliberately too small, and told plainly that if he wanted more, he would have to go and take it himself at the risk of a beating if he was caught. He did not get to complain his way into comfort. He solved the hard problem or he stayed hungry. That is the whole lesson stripped of ceremony. Comfort is not issued to you. It is taken after the hard price has already been paid, never before. You will feel the pull to do it the easy way, in the easy order today especially. That pull is not new information. It is the same voice that has been talking you out of hard things your entire life, and you already know exactly where listening to it leads. Pay the price at the front of the day. Let comfort be the reward standing at the finish line, never the thing you reach for at the starting gun. The man who pays first eats last, and eats better than any man who tried to skip the bill. Protocol 4. Say less than you know, and you will always be underestimated by the right people. A man who narrates every plan before he executes it is handing out maps to his own position. He tells the room he is starting a business, and now the business has an audience before it has a single customer. He tells his rivals exactly how strong he is, exactly what he is training for, exactly where he is weak, and calls it confidence. It is the opposite. Real strength does not need a witness to confirm it exists. The Spartans were famous for a manner of speech that gave away almost nothing, short, flat, unembellished, so restrained that the word for it still carries their name today. This was not because they lacked words. It was tactical. An enemy who cannot read your intentions cannot prepare for your next move. A rival who does not know the size of your ambition cannot position himself against it in advance. Silence was not a personality trait for a Spartan. It was a weapon, sharpened daily, carried at all times. Here is how you live it. Stop announcing intentions before they are finished. When you are asked what you are working on, give the smallest true answer that satisfies the question, and nothing more. Let your results speak in a language no one can argue with, instead of your plans speaking in a language anyone can pick apart. Save the full account of your ambition for the one place it belongs, inside your own head, and inside the quiet log you keep for yourself alone. Picture a man training in secret for a year, telling no one, showing up to the gathering where everyone last saw him soft and uncertain, and now standing changed, without a single word of explanation offered or asked for. The silence before that moment was not weakness. It was the entire strategy. Compare him to the man who announced his transformation loudly a year earlier and then quietly let it fade, the noise long forgotten, the promise never collected on. One man spent his energy talking about the war. The other man spent his energy winning it. This is not about becoming cold or cutting people out. It is about understanding that your plans are ammunition, and ammunition spent in conversation cannot also be spent in execution. Every detail you give away for free is a detail your rivals no longer have to guess at. Speak in results. Let everyone else speak in plans. Protocol 5. Choose your suffering before life chooses it for you. Life will hurt you whether you prepare for it or not. That part is not optional, no matter how comfortable you make your days. What is optional is whether the first pain you ever feel is chosen by you, on your own terms at a time and size you control, or whether it is chosen by circumstance, at the worst possible moment, at a size you never trained for. A man who has never been cold on purpose finds out how he handles suffering during the exact week he can least afford to fail that test. Seneca practiced what he called days of poverty on purpose: plain food, rough clothing, sleeping without comfort, all while he still had wealth available to him, specifically so that hardship would never again catch him unprepared. He was not punishing himself. He was inoculating himself, the same way a small controlled dose of a poison teaches a body to survive a larger one later. The Spartans built this into their entire culture. Cold, hunger, exhaustion, pain, all delivered on a schedule, all voluntary, all survivable, so that when the real version arrived uninvited, it felt familiar instead of foreign. Here is how you live it. Take the cold shower you do not want. Skip the meal you do not need. Run the mile after the one where your lungs already burned. Do this on purpose, on a schedule, while nothing is forcing you to. You are not doing it to prove anything to anyone watching. You are doing it so that the part of your brain that panics at discomfort gets rewired slowly into a part of your brain that recognizes discomfort as familiar territory it has already survived 100 times before. Picture the difference between two men the day real hardship arrives: a job lost, a body broken, a plan collapsed. One of them has never once chosen to be uncomfortable in his entire life. The floor gives out from under him completely because he has no calluses anywhere. The other has been choosing controlled pain on ordinary Tuesdays for years. Real hardship arrives, and some part of him recognizes the shape of it immediately. I have felt something like this before, and I am still standing. Comfort chosen every single day builds a man with no calluses left anywhere on him. Suffering chosen on purpose builds the callus before the wound ever needs one. Go looking for the hard thing today. It is cheaper to choose it now than to be handed it later. Protocol 6. Burn nothing on what you cannot control. You have a fixed amount of energy each day, and most men spend a huge share of it on things that were never theirs to control in the first place. The traffic, the opinion of a stranger online, the weather on the one day it mattered, a rival's success, the past which cannot be edited, and the future which has not been written. Rage at any of these is not strength. It is a man setting fire to his own fuel tank and calling the smoke passion. Epictetus built his entire system on a single dividing line. Some things are within your power, and everything else is not, and confusing the two categories is the root of nearly all human suffering. Your judgments, your effort, your discipline, your response, these are yours completely, and no one can take them. The outcome, other people's choices, the past, the weather, these were never yours, and treating them as though they are yours to control is the fastest way to exhaust yourself over nothing. Here is how you live it. When you feel the heat rising over something, stop and ask one question before you spend another second on it. Is this inside my control or outside it? If it is outside your control, you are permitted exactly 0 minutes of rage over it, because rage spent their purchases nothing. Redirect that same energy instantly toward the one thing that is always inside your control in that exact moment, your next action. Not your feelings about the situation. Your next action. Picture a commander on a battlefield who cannot control the wind direction, the terrain, or the enemy's numbers, but who wastes no breath cursing any of it. He controls his formation, his men, his own decisions, and he pours every ounce of his attention into that narrow list, because that is the only list that has ever won a battle. The commander who instead spends his energy raging at the wind loses to the one who simply adjusted his sails and kept marching. This does not mean you feel nothing. You are not a stone. It means the feeling gets 90 seconds, and then it gets redirected toward action every time, without exception, until the redirect becomes automatic and the rage stops finding fuel to burn at all. Spend your fire only on what obeys your hand. Everything else was never yours to burn for. Protocol 7. Need no witness for the discipline you keep. Most men are only disciplined when someone is watching. The workout happens because it will be posted. The good deed happens because it will be seen. The restraint happens because someone important is in the room. Take the audience away completely and watch how much of that discipline evaporates instantly. That is not discipline. That is performance, and performance collapses the moment the curtain closes, which means it was never load-bearing in the first place. Marcus Aurelius wrote his private reflections with no intention that another human being would ever read a single line of them. He was not composing a performance for history. He was holding himself to a standard in the one place no audience could ever reach, his own private conduct, alone, unwitnessed, where the only judge was a standard he had set for himself and refused to lower just because no one else was checking. That is the entire test of real discipline. What a man does when the room is empty and there is no one left to impress. Here is how you live it. Do the workout on the day no one will ever know whether you skipped it. Tell the truth in the conversation that has no witnesses and no consequences either way. Keep your word to yourself specifically on the promises only you will ever know you broke. Build the habit of checking in with a standard that exists inside you, not a standard that exists in the eyes of whoever happens to be in the room that day. Picture a Spartan soldier standing guard alone on a wall in the freezing dark, hours from being relieved, with absolutely no one watching to confirm whether he stayed alert or let his eyes close for a moment. The entire wall depends on a discipline that has no witness at all. He does not perform vigilance for an audience. He simply is vigilant, because that is who he decided to be long before this particular night arrived, audience or none. This is the loneliest law and also the one that actually builds something permanent, because a discipline that only exists when watched is not a discipline. It is a costume, and costumes come off the second the lights do. Be the same man completely alone that you are in front of every single person who has ever mattered to you. Protocol 8. Turn the wound into a weapon. Something has already happened to you that you did not choose and did not deserve. A loss, a betrayal, a failure that gutted you in front of people whose respect you wanted. Most men carry that wound as a scar they mention when they want sympathy, or as a wall they use to justify never trying again. Both of those are ways of letting the wound keep winning, years after the moment that caused it has already ended. The Stoics taught something harder and more useful than sympathy. The obstacle itself can become the path forward, if a man is willing to use it instead of nursing it. Marcus Aurelius wrote that what stands in the way becomes the way, that the very thing sent to block you can be turned into fuel for the exact effort it seemed to be blocking. This is not positive thinking. It is closer to alchemy performed under duress, taking the ugliest material you have been handed and refusing to let it stay ugly, refusing to let it stay only a wound, until you have forged something usable out of it by sheer force of will. Here is how you live it. Take the injury that still has a grip on you and ask one deliberately uncomfortable question. What can this teach me that comfort never could have? The betrayal taught you exactly who deserves less access to you going forward. The failure taught you precisely which weakness to train next. The loss taught you what you actually value, stripped bare of everything you assumed did not matter until it was gone. Extract the lesson on purpose, in writing if you have to, until the wound has paid you back something real instead of just costing you. Picture a warrior who lost a battle badly, carrying the memory of that defeat not as shame he hides from, but as the exact blueprint of every mistake he will never make again. He does not pretend the wound did not happen. He studies it the way a general studies a map, until the scar itself becomes the reason he wins the next one. The wound does not disappear. It simply stops being only a wound and becomes a weapon he carries into every fight after. This is the hardest law to practice honestly, because it asks you to stop being only a victim of what happened and start being a student of it instead. On the very same day it still hurts the most. What broke you owes you a lesson. Go and collect the debt. Protocol 9. Live already knowing you will die. You are going to die. Not eventually, in some abstract sense you can schedule around, actually, specifically, on a day already fixed on a calendar you cannot see. Every single day you spend pretending otherwise is a day spent negotiating with a deadline you have decided not to look at directly. Most men live as though time is the one resource that will never run out, right up until the exact moment it does, and by then the negotiation is over and no better terms are available. Seneca wrote that it is not that we have a short life, but that we waste a great deal of it, and that a life is long enough for anything important if none of it is thrown away on things that do not matter. The Spartan warrior walked into battle already at peace with the ending, not because he was reckless with his life, but because he refused to spend the life he did have flinching from the one fact that was always going to be true regardless of how hard he flinched from it. That peace with the ending is what freed him to fight without hesitation in the middle. Here is how you live it. Once a day, deliberately, look directly at the fact you spend most of your life avoiding. This ends, and you do not get to choose when. Do not do this to frighten yourself. Do it to weigh your actual choices against it. Is the grudge you are carrying worth a piece of the only time you get? Is the risk you are avoiding really more dangerous than running out of days before you ever took it? Let the deadline make the decision easier, not harder, because clarity is the one gift a deadline actually gives you if you stop hiding from it. Picture a man on the morning of a battle he may not survive, who spends that morning not in denial but in total clarity, writing to the people he loves, settling what needs settling, standing taller because, for once, the fog of pretending he had unlimited time has completely lifted. He is not more afraid than the man who refuses to look at his own ending. He is less afraid because he has already made peace with the one fact everyone else is still running from. Death is not the enemy of a well-spent life. Denial is. Look at the ending and let it sharpen every single day you have left before it arrives. Protocol 10. Become the man who cannot be broken. Everything before this law was training. This one is the man that training was building the entire time. A man who owns the first hour, who commands the voice in his own head instead of obeying it, who pays the hard price first and says less than he knows and chooses his own suffering on purpose, who burns nothing on what he cannot control, keeps his discipline with no witness required, turns every wound into a weapon, and already walks at peace with his own ending. Stack all 9 of those laws on top of each other, every single day, for long enough, and something happens that looks impossible from the outside. A man arrives who cannot be broken, because there is nothing left in him that depends on the world staying comfortable. This is what the Spartans meant when they judged a man by what remained standing after the shield wall broke, not by how he looked before the fighting started. This is what Marcus Aurelius meant when he wrote that the obstacles life throws are not punishments. They are simply the material this exact kind of man is made from. Unbreakable was never a trait some men are born with, sitting untouched in their blood before they have proven anything. It is a floor built one plank at a time, one law at a time, one uncomfortable morning at a time, until the structure can hold weight that would have collapsed it completely a year earlier. Here is how you live it, starting today and not tomorrow. You do not wait to feel ready, because readiness is a feeling and feelings were never the point of any of this. You pick one law, the one you are weakest at, and you practice it today, badly if you have to, imperfectly if you have to, but today. Then you pick the next one tomorrow. You are not trying to become unbreakable in a single morning. You are laying the first plank, and then the next, the same way every wall that has ever held was built, slowly, deliberately, by a man willing to keep showing up long after the feeling of motivation had already left the building. Picture the version of yourself standing at the end of this, the one who was already awake in the hook that opened this video, boots laced, unimpressed by cold, unmoved by the voice that begs for comfort. He was never a different species from you. He was simply you, after enough mornings spent obeying these 10 laws instead of your own excuses. The world will test what you are made of whether you prepare or not. Prepare anyway. Become the man who, when everything else gives way, simply does not. This is the Spartan protocol. Carry it. 10 laws, 1 code. Nothing about hearing them changes anything by itself. The change starts the next time your alarm goes off, and you decide who gives the orders. It starts the next time your mind hands you a story dressed up as a fact, and you refuse to believe it on reflex. It starts the next time comfort is available for free, and you pay the hard price first anyway, because you have already decided who you are and you are done negotiating with the man who wants to stay soft. No one is coming to build this man for you. No one is coming to lace your boots or choose your suffering or guard your silence or turn your wounds into weapons on your behalf. That work has exactly one name attached to it, and it is yours. You already know which law you are weakest at. Stop reading that as a weakness. Start reading it as an instruction. Rise, command yourself, pay the price. Guard your fire, need no witness. Become the man who cannot be broken. This is the Spartan protocol. Go and carry it.